Hello, just waiting for everybody to kind of roll in for today's webinar. And today we're going to be talking all about generative AI. So if you do have any kind of questions that you want to pop into the chat before we get going, I'll make sure I get those answered for you as well during this session. Yes, Chris, they are all recorded and they all go onto our YouTube channel. So there's also a backlog of ones in there because it may be interesting for you to go back and have a look at some of the other generative stuff if you haven't been for those sessions that we've kind of done. And also GEO is actually formally becoming a term, like a marketing kind of term. Now it's actually being recognized, so it might be useful to go back and rewatch that one too, because that was really interesting. I found that out today because it's been debated whether it is different to SEO, but they're officially kind of changing that up now. So yeah, so you're golden. You don't have to worry. This is recorded. It's the AI exchange for OXP. That's how you'll find it. At the end of the session, I will also pop it in the notes so you can find that too. Welcome, everybody that's joining. I'm just going to wait for a couple more moments while everybody comes in, because I know that I know what it's like trying to get to a webinar during your day. So I'll just wait a few more moments for people to join. But if anybody has got any questions about generative AI or kind of anything to do with what we're talking about today, so ChatGPT, Sora, MidJourney, and Gemini Nano Banana, and I promise that is actually what it is called. yeah, it is. That is the true name of this piece of tech. Hi, Daniela.
Hello, everyone.
How are we doing today? I was just saying that I promise that Gemini Nano Banana is actually the name of this platform. But I'm not like pulling anybody's leg. That is truly the name of this glorious piece of tech we will go through today.
Ooh, okay, we have numbers joining us. Yes, it is a very interesting name.
Yeah, let me find the exact reason why.
That would be interesting to know. Just because this is the one thing that I've never heard of it. I have no idea what's going on. And usually with the AI webinars, I'm able to follow along. So I'm aware of ChatGPT, which I think most people might be, and I'm aware of MidJourney. But what on earth is Gemini Nano Banana about?
So Gemini is the AI assistant that lives within Google.
Ah, I see. Yes, it is. Yep.
And it's called Nano Banana. There's a few theories out there, but officially it's kind of called this because they wanted to make it more accessible. So it's an absurd name, but it's consistent with Google's naming philosophy. So wrapping complex tech in accessible and engaging stories.
Interesting. Perfect. Okay.
I don't know why they chose banana though.
That's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Are you happy for me to do the introduction? Get started?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. So, hello, my name is Daniela, and I work here as part of the Oxford College of Procurement, Management, Technology and Marketing. It's quite a mouthful sometimes to remember. But yeah, the overarching organisation is Oxford Professional Group, but we have all of those colleges that fall under it. And the AI webinar is available to all of our students or people who are just inquiring prospects, whoever has just hopped on. It's great that you're joining us just after your lunch or during your working day to learn a little bit more about generative AI image editing with the softwares and AIs. So like previously mentioned, Gemini Nano Banana versus ChatGPT and MidJourney. So typically how our sessions work is that I'll do the introduction, Robin will take over and she'll go on to do her presentation, and you're more than welcome to make the session as interactive as possible. You can pop bits into the chat for myself and Robin to engage with, or you can leave questions into the end. You're more than welcome to use the chat function or the Q&A function. But yeah, just ahead of beginning, it might be worth as well introducing Robin. So Robin is one of our tutors here at the college, specifically for the marketing. She is the expert that knows everything essentially AI related. That's why I hop on. I'm here to learn from Robin. As well as you guys. Yeah, and she's here to clue us up on all of these topics. We run these sessions bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks, and you're more than welcome to hop on and drop off as you need. But like I said, it's an opportunity to have something engaging, learn a little bit more about AI, and we do also have the newsletter, and we also have, I always forget the name of this because I want to say it's Substack.
Oh, Slack channel, yeah.
Slack. Thank you. Got it. Slack. That you're more than welcome to join. And if you're unable to make these sessions regularly, then we do also have a YouTube channel that you can go and re-watch these webinars. What I tend to do throughout is just drop links in the chat as well, so that you guys can find all of these things and just support Robin in the background. But yeah, more than happy to take away, Robin.
Yes, absolutely. And I do need you to participate with me today because of the first section of this webinar. So everybody needs to dial in and then even just talk to me in the chat. That's totally fine. You can just give me your responses there. Okay, so today we are talking about Gemini Nano Banana and the other kind of platforms that sit within this generative AI world. And what we're going to look at specifically is the differences, even though they all use the same technology, the same generative processes, how different they actually are, and the comparison when creating and editing with these different kind of pieces of AI tech. So that's where we're going to go through today. If you have any questions at any time, please put them in the chat, because I do want to make sure that all your kind of questions are answered before the end of the session. So let's kind of see where we are. Let's go from the beginning. So imagine this, yeah? You take a photo and all of a sudden you realize that there's something in the background that shouldn't be there. You want to portray yourself as being on a luxury yacht, or you want to change the background of your kind of latest LinkedIn headshot. You may want a bolder outfit, totally different kind of vibe. A year ago, that would have meant hours in Photoshop and a level of skill required to understand how to use technology such as Photoshop to make those edits, right? Today, and I'll show you what we're going to kind of go through today, but today you can just ask a generative AI platform and it literally happens in seconds. So with Nano Banana, it's less than 2 seconds. MidJourney, it's up to 11, depending on the level of creativity you are asking for. And ChatGPT, Sora, or DALL-E, that is around 4 seconds. So you can see already that realistically, it's a great piece of kit to have in your marketing kind of toolkit, leadership toolkit, to make sure that you can edit, create images incredibly quickly to portray X, Y, or Z. And why we've kind of added in this session today is because Gemini Nano Banana has taken over our feeds because of its capabilities. And this latest wave of generative AI tools aren't just making edits, they're reshaping how we interact and understand creativity when it comes to using these platforms. And Google DeepMind's Gemini Nano Banana has exploded onto the scene. And this has it is the tool that you can see, you know, where people are making bathroom art out of their pets. That's Gemini Nano Banana. If it's the one where you can see people making little figurines of their pets or people that are on their desk, that is Gemini Nano Banana. And it accounted for over 1/3 of images shared last month on social media. They were created by Gemini's Nano Banana, which is a huge amount of content. But platforms like ChatGPT and MidJourney are carving their kind of own lanes. Yeah, they are still great generative platforms. They're just good at different things. And that is one of the biggest things that I want you to take away from my sessions, is that by understanding the technology that fuels these platforms, that these platforms need different types of inputs and that they create different types of outputs, even though they are quote unquote AI or generative AI led technology. So let's have a look. Let's look at the kind of what this actually means for you as individuals using these different platforms moving forward. But what I want you to do with me first is I want us to play AI or not. Yeah. Because these are some of the images that fooled the most people in a recent survey by OpenAI in the last month. So they are classed as A or B, and I want you to tell me if A or B is AI or not. Yeah, and all of these were created with the 3 platforms that we're talking about today. So which one is created by AI?
I would say A.
A.
What are we thinking? Lisa thinks A. Kirsty.
Okay.
Ahmed. Feel free to pop into the chat. Samantha A.
Absolutely. Ooh. Spot on. Yeah. Now I added this one in because generally when we do people's faces, you can tell there's something deep within our psychology that when we look at a human that is created by AI, we can feel and sense that it's not a real person. It is generated. But images like this actually are harder for us. But okay, we got that one. That was wonderful. What about this one? I can just imagine everybody doing that, Daniela. Like,
I should feel like needing my glasses, but somehow, you know, apparently not enough. Kirsty's gone with A. I'm finding this one very tricky.
Lisa says B.
I want to go A.
A
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is A. Yeah. So we could still sense that there was something quite there. But I always ask this question: would your nan notice the difference scrolling through her Facebook feed where she's looking at the grandkids like doing their stuff, and then this comes up on an ad? Would your nan know? My nan would have no idea. Yeah. So it's all about this kind of level of detail that we actually are trying to pick these apart. But in traditional marketing kind of places, you probably wouldn't have noticed that that is generated by AI. What about this one?
B.
Yeah.
Samantha goes with B as well. Ahmed B. Lisa B. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, because we are we can sense that this isn't right within kind of the animal world, and it's too clear, too crisp, right? But what about this one?
B.
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 Yeah.
B.
Samantha, Kirsty, Lisa, Ahmed as well on that camp.
Yeah, smashing it, to be fair. And then what about this one?
Kirsty's gone with B.
I can always tell when there's like a pause moment because it slows down. The responses are
it is tricky, isn't it? Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on this one. Maybe B.
So this one is actually A. So what we can see here is that realistically, when we are interacting with generated content in ads, emails, any kind of place that we could have this within marketing, we, as those who put this out into the world, we have a sense of responsibility. So when we're talking about generated content, what do I actually mean? How does generative AI actually create in these instances? So generative AI works by learning patterns from existing data and then using those patterns to create something new. Now, I use the word new with a kind of around it, because it's a system that is trained to predict what comes next in a sequence, but obviously at scale and with complexity. So it does this by being trained on massive data sets. And I mean, when I say massive, this is billions upon billions of words, images, text, or other examples. And during training, what this system does is it looks for patterns. So how do words tend to follow one another in language? How pixels and shapes combine to form objects in images? How notes, chords, and rhythm fit together in music? Yeah. So it's predicting the next one based on all of the information it has learned from. But this training doesn't give the AI understanding in the way that we understand, in that kind of human sense. What it actually does is it enables the model to statistically predict likely continuations or combinations. So you can kind of understand why I say new with kind of a, well, a slight caveat. And that is because it only knows what comes next by the data it has been fed. So if it had only been given black and white images of trees, and you asked it to create you a beautiful oak tree, the oak tree that it would create will be black and white. Does that make sense? So it only understands by what it has been given before, so then it can predict what you actually want during that prompt. So then it has a neural network as the engine, and they rely on deep neural networks, particularly a specific structure called a transformer. Now, this transformer handles long sequences of data. So when we're prompting or asking, like a whole sentence or a paragraph that we give it. And what that piece of tech does is it takes different bits of what we're asking for and assigns attention to different parts of that input. So think about it as if you have like a team of people, and one of the kind of pieces of is really good at understanding what a tree is. That transformer gives that piece of information to that part of the AI system for it to go and take away and come back with that information. So what it does then is it starts to figure out which words, shapes, or notes, if we're generating music, are most relevant to predicting the next step. Yeah. And then we have the prediction and the generation. So once trained, the model generates content by repeatedly predicting the most likely next piece of information. So we're talking about images today because we're talking about editing images. And in that kind of world, it predicts how to transform random noise, so any opportunity, into patterns of pixels that resemble real objects. But it can only do that by understanding the prompt that we have given it and also the information that it has been fed to train upon. It's not just copying examples, but combining patterns. Yeah, it can create outputs that are potentially classed as new and original while still feeling kind of natural. And so, as you can see, it's quite an interesting way that this generates. And then we have this feedback and fine tuning. So generative AI, or AI systems need to be refined, not only in when they are created, but also in the outputs that we kind of are presented with. And we need to fine tune with better data. We need to have human feedback loops. And we also need to have guardrails and constraints to reduce harmful or nonsensical outputs. So that is from our side, we shouldn't ask it to create something that is harmful or nonsensical. And within the systems themselves that we interact with, the 3 platforms that we're going to talk about today, they also have guardrails in place so that if we ask for something that is particularly copyrighty as well, can you create me a really cool logo based on the Coca-Cola logo? It'll create something, but it will warn you. Yeah. So generative AI is like incredibly advanced autocomplete that is really caffeinated. Yeah. And it doesn't just finish your sentence, but it can create these massive things based on the prompts that we have asked it throughout this kind of process that I've just gone through here. So it generates through taking our prompt, pulling it apart, and then predicting what comes next. So I wanted to talk about 3 main generative platforms today. And I am focusing on image generation, because we are looking at the world of image editing today. Yeah. So the first one I want to talk about is Sora. Now, this is primarily actually a text to video generative piece of software that lives within ChatGPT. It's the video version of ChatGPT. What ChatGPT does with text, this does with video. So instead of writing paragraphs or answering questions, Sora can take a written prompt like a snowy street in Tokyo with neon lights reflecting on the ground and generate a full motion photorealistic video or image. Yeah. It builds on the same principles as other generative AI tools, so learning patterns from huge data sets, but instead of predicting the next word or next pixel, it can also predict the next frame of video. Oh, that's interesting. If you're not wrong, Sora means picture in Arabic. Oh, it'd be interesting to see where the name come from, like Nano Banana. So how does it connect to generative AI? So it's part of the generative AI family, which means it doesn't just analyze data, it creates. That is a key distinction when you're looking at what types of technology fuel different types of platforms. Sora kind of extends generative AI into what is classed as one of the most complex formats, images and video. So even though Sora and ChatGPT create different things, they live within the same ecosystem. They're both built using similar deep learning and transformer-based, and OpenAI is experimenting in how it connects Sora to ChatGPT. So it's a wonderful piece of technology. Has anybody actually been able to access the text to video aspect of Sora? I have had that for a while, but I know a lot of people still don't actually have access to that, and they can only create images. So that's quite interesting. It is accessed through its own platform. So you access it through ChatGPT, and it's just on the top on the left-hand side, if you don't know where that is at the moment. So then we have MidJourney. Now, MidJourney is one of my favorite generative platforms, and it's an image generation platform. And instead of typing prompts into a search bar, you describe what you want to see. And MidJourney creates high quality images based on your description. Sora isn't tricky to access itself, but the ability to use the video creator is. So not everybody has access to actually using text to video. They are limited to text to image. So MidJourney itself, it's known for this artistic, surreal and stylistic outputs. Whereas some tools aim for realism, MidJourney leans towards creativity and design. And it's also community driven. So you access MidJourney through Discord, where users also share prompts, tips, and creations within its own community. So MidJourney itself is a part of the generative AI family. It specializes in images. and it learns patterns of shapes, colors, styles, and objects, then generates new images that match your prompt. Yeah. Unlike traditional photo editing, it doesn't just copy or tweak existing photos. It creates new original images by blending what it has learned. Again, caveat on the word new. So it has what is classed as artistic DNA. So while many AI tools aim for this realism, MidJourney leans into artistic expression, meaning you get something totally different out of this kind of thing. And it can produce things like surreal dreamscapes and cinematic stills, concept art, digital paintings. And that creative edge makes it popular with designers, marketers, and artists. It may not be the best generative platform if you're looking for something particularly real in your outcome. And then, of course, we have our Gemini Nano Banana. So this is Google's DeepMind's latest AI image editing model. It's built into the Gemini app itself. It's designed to make editing photos simple, realistic, and fun, whether that means swapping a background, changing an outfit, or giving your dog a tutu. We will not do that, but I'll show you some things like that in a second. And what actually makes this incredibly special is what is one of the biggest frustrations with generative AI? Does anybody know, especially within images? Or let me ask you a different question. Has anybody struggled to get consistency within their images? So you create an image and then you ask it to create it somewhere else, but then the character totally changed, or the feeling totally changes. Gemini Nano Banana focuses on consistency and likeness, which is why it is outpacing all of the other generative AI systems when it comes to editing, image editing. So unlike many AI editors that distort faces, you know, we have like 6 fingers in MidJourney sometimes, it creates this kind of, it takes the essence of the person and then you can move that around within AI. And it allows you to create unmistakably looking kind of edits within an AI system. It is not a standalone app though. You must remember that this is integrated into the Gemini system, which means that it's within the Google family. Yeah. And it's powerful because it combines realism, consistency, and versatility with a simple integrated user experience, which I will show you. And it solves one of AI's hardest problems, keeping people and pets looking like themselves. Yeah. While opening the door to endless opportunity, endless professional opportunity. So the reason I wanted to compare these generative AI platforms is because when you Google image creation, image editing, AI platforms, these are the 3 that come up at the top. But actually, they're all not the best for that. So when you are choosing the right piece of technology to support your output, you should really know the differences, not only in the different types of tech, so generative AI, natural language processing systems, but also between the different types within that as well. So Sora is generative AI for both video and images. You can type in a description and Sora can create what you ask. Yeah, its strength lies in motion, realism, and storytelling. So it opens the door to producing polished visual content without studios, cameras, or stock libraries. That is where that really shines when it comes to generative AI. We then have MidJourney. They are classed as the artist, yeah, out of this kind of group, and it specializes in image generation but leans heavily towards art, design, and imagination. Its outputs are often stylized, surreal, unique, making it perfect for mood boards, creative branding, concept art. Yeah, its strength lies in creativity and distinctive visual styles, giving businesses and creators visuals that stand out rather than blend in. Yeah. And then Gemini Nano Banana takes a totally different approach. It's built for photo editing rather than starting from scratch. So it's not that good at generating. Yeah. And you'll see in a second, but it's great at adjusting. And I think that's an incredibly powerful piece of kit. So each tool shines in its own lane, even though it is all under generative AI. So when you are choosing what generative AI platform you want to add into your tech stack, make sure you understand the difference. So after now we've just kind of spoke about the 3 different types of platform and the 3 different ways it can kind of create, I asked 2 platforms. I asked MidJourney and Nano Banana to create me this image. And when you're testing generative AI, it's really important to use the right kind of prompt. And this is an effective prompt because it has specificity. It details the subject, their emotion, their actions, their environment, and also incorporates surreal elements like glowing flora, geometric structures. Yeah. It also has a specific artistic style, and it's a significant challenge, requiring the AI to understand and apply specific visual characteristics like bold outlines, flat colors, and distinctive perspectives. We then have mood and lighting. So the words melancholic, stark, push for a strong emphasis of a mood, and sophisticated lighting, which can differentiate between the models. And it also has complexity. So it's got a lot of complex ideas, robot Mars, surrealism, specific print style. Yeah. Testing each AI's ability to synthesize them coherently. So which one do you think is MidJourney, and which one do you think is Banana? So remember, MidJourney is known for its artistic flair and its depth. Nano Banana, not so much.
Any ideas, anyone? A, banana, right? Right.
So actually, Chris, you are correct.
Okay.
It was this one. And one of the reasons that you will always be able to now, moving forward, pick out a Gemini Nano Banana created image that is from scratch is it feels very flat. Yeah, because it is actually designed to start from somewhere rather than kind of imagine something. There's better generative platforms for that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go through what Nano Banana is, how it is great for editing, but then I'm going to walk you through 8 or 9 techniques. Let me just double check. 7 different techniques that I've created a sheet for you to take away the prompts for, so you can try it yourself. If you don't have access to Gemini Nano Banana, then you can try these with any generative kind of space, because what that'll do is it will give you a kind of way to try out these different generative models. And if you do have a generative platform, ChatGPT, MidJourney, Nano Banana, and you want to do this alongside, that's cool. We could do that together. Remember, any data that you put in is then accessible depending on your settings, depending on your subscription to that model. So just make sure that if you are going to put your face in, like I have on mine, I'll show you in a minute, that is then going into the model. Yeah, you just make sure you are comfortable with that and you know the level of privacy you have with the generative platform that you choose. So let me just pop this document in here for you. Oops, it's not letting me. Of course, it doesn't let me when I need it to. So does anybody actually use Gemini within their Google suite? It's one of the least used but most powerful AI systems. So that document will force you to make your own copy, just so you can get access to it. So why is Nano Banana taking the stage? So editing that once took hours can now take seconds, literal seconds. And this latest image editing model, it classes itself as that. You can transform photos with just a prompt. So we're going to go through these kind of 7 techniques today, whether it's swapping backgrounds, blending multiple shots, or reimagining a scene. You don't need Photoshop expertise, just an idea and a few words. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing here, and then I'm going to open up Gemini. And like I say, if you have your own generative system, then you are more than welcome to follow along at the same time as we kind of do that, just copying the prompts from the right. But you will need an image to start from as well. I'm just going to make it so you can't see below there. Okay. So as you can see, it's very, very similar to ChatGPT. Yeah, at a glance, you could probably state that it is. So when we are kind of looking at the prompts, the different techniques that this is really great at, I have already ran these, so I knew it would work, but at the end, we may be able to do a couple more. So as you can see, I just wanted to prove that this was the Nano Banana image as well. So you have that kind of knowledge. So one thing that traditional generative AI platforms cannot do is they can't preserve character consistency. So technique 1, the prompt I have given you in that sheet for number 1, is that with Nano Banana, you can place the same person or product into a completely new setting without losing their authentic look and their feel. So the example prompt here is keep this person exactly as they appear in the uploaded photo, but place them on a busy New York street at night, glowing with neon lights. So it is my face that you will see now, and you can see that prompt that I've added in there. Yeah. So do you think that it was able to do this well? Oh, yes, it really was. So it was able to take my total likeness and then place me in a different kind of space. So I sent this to my husband earlier, and he was like, what? When did you go to New York? I was like, no, this is AI generated. And he was like, no way. I was like, yeah, it really is. So as you can see, it was able to take my likeness. It even changed my kind of stance, my feeling, my kind of where I stand. Yeah, you can say all of those kind of things to it. So what we can do then is the next one is multi-image fusion. So this is where Nano Banana can seamlessly merge 2 or more photos to create a completely new scene. So I gave it these 2 images. So it was an image of a guy, full-bodied, so from his head to his shoes, and then it was a really interesting concert stage. So I then asked it to blend the uploaded photo of me with the image of a concert stage, so it looks like I'm performing live under bright spotlights. Do we think it could do this well? Kind of. AI will always create hallucinations in some instances. But as you can see, we gained a limb. Yeah. But what you could then do is you basically say, why have I got 3 arms, Nano Banana? And then it will swap that back and it will edit that for you. It is actually incredibly good at fusing. You just have to iterate a few times. So the next one is I asked for kind of local based edits. So making precise adjustments to just one part of an image while leaving everything else untouched. So this was the image. This is my LinkedIn profile, which is why I don't mind that we're doing this today. It's very strange to look at my face so many times though. So what I asked it to do was remove this light here and gently blur the background. It did it perfectly. That took less than 2 seconds. When you think about the time, the knowledge, and the skill that was traditionally needed to use, like AI, like Photoshop compared to AI, I merely asked it to remove the light. If I was using Photoshop, I would need to know what tool, how to import the picture in the correct kind of way, how to export. It did that within 2 seconds for me. Yeah, it kept the level of detail in the picture. It just did what I asked. So as you can say, it's incredibly powerful. So that was kind of the third thing that it is great at. So what I asked it then to do was do a style transfer. So I had this image of me and my husband from a networking event that I was in at London last year for Christmas. And I added just any image I could find very quickly, and that was a galaxy pattern. So I asked it to use the galaxy pattern from this uploaded image and apply it to the dress in the other photo. It did exactly as I asked. It looks incredibly strange because I didn't pick something that was particularly good for a dress pattern. And my hand does look like it's coming out of a black hole. But if you had a product that had a box that was Christmas themed, you then wanted it to be spring themed, or you had wallpaper that you wanted to change in a product shoot, you could easily ask it to do that just by saying, use the galaxy pattern from this uploaded image and apply it to the wall, to the product box in the other photo. So I think it did it incredibly well. It did exactly what I asked, and it only stayed within the areas of the dress, and it used the exact image. Yeah. So what we can also see in the next one is if we wanted to ask specific style changes. So if there is a color correction or an enhancement that you wanted to kind of create with Gemini Nano Banana, what you can see is if I asked it to brighten the colors, boost saturation slightly, and add warm golden hour lighting, it did that within 2 seconds. Yeah. So as you can see, it doesn't also need to be incredibly complicated prompts. If you look back at some of my sessions when we're talking about how do we talk to ChatGPT, prompts have to be very, very specific. Gemini Nano Banana already understands these terms. It's been trained to understand these editing terms. So I just have to ask it, brighten the colors, boost the saturation slightly, and add warm golden hour lighting. It already knew I wanted it to do that to that picture. Yeah. So it's also a little bit more informal way of kind of communicating with generative AI. So it did that very well. Now this one is where it starts to get a little scary, yeah, for me anyway. And this is where Nano Banana can do pose and expression editing. So I wanted it to adjust facial expressions or body posture naturally without distorting the subject's likeness. Yeah. So the prompt I gave it was make the subject frown and shift the pose so they are seemingly annoyed. Yeah. So I go from this smiley, kind of wonderful human to this one. Now, do you think that's an impressive edit that took less than 3 seconds? Would you know that I hadn't just taken that image? So I sent this to my mum and my nan this morning when I was creating these, and they both were like, oh, what's wrong? Are you okay? I was like, I just wanted to show you this because this is the original and this is what it created. So all I asked was it to make the subject frown and shift the pose so that I was seemingly annoyed. And I think that did it incredibly well for a generative piece of software. Now, if you'd put that prompt into ChatGPT and Sora, you wouldn't have got the best kind of outcome. This is specifically designed for that kind of changes. So then what you can also do is add text or graphics. So we can easily place custom text or visuals into a scene. So this is fun for when you're creating things like ads or billboards or social kind of content. So I was like, add text to the billboard that reads Robin is great in bold white letters. And then it did it perfectly. Yeah. So then there is a lot of kind of fun prompts online. And if you Google art, bathroom art dog, you'll see a lot of kind of 4 images that have been created by Gemini Nano Banana of their dog, like in the bath or taking a shower, that kind of thing. It's a huge trend at the moment online. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's try the fuse. Let's try and fuse these, me and my dog. So I look like my German Shepherd or vice versa. Fuse these images together and make the human appear as the dog. Now, sadly, it didn't quite get it. Yeah. So as you can see, AI sometimes does struggle. So it is about creating the right kind of prompt for that. There's also really interesting things that you can do to create really imaginative content. So I use the figurine prompt that is going around online at the moment. So where we're creating a kind of commercial figurine of a character on a desk. So you can, in any of the conversations, you can just go back and ask it again about that same image. It downloads at a incredibly high DPI, so you can, it's almost like an SVT, so you can expand it and kind of make it whatever size you need. You can't favorite things in the way that you can in ChatGPT, but I do think that will come. It's just the first iteration of this. But again, if you then uploaded, it makes me laugh whenever I see that picture of me and my dog's face. But if you uploaded that again, it would be able to work and keep the consistency and the character from that uploaded image again. So I did the commercialized figurine prompt, which I have added onto the bottom of that kind of technique document. And it created a glorious little figurine with the kind of stylized box and the kind of creation of the figurine in the background. It's incredibly detailed. That is an incredibly complex prompt. I was asking it a lot, right? I was asking it to do 3D modeling. So showing the process of creating this figurine and then creating a 2D flat illustration in the box here. So I was asking it a lot of things and it was still able to generate it. It was able to churn that out incredibly quickly. So then the next kind of fun prompt is I've shown you editing in the way that we traditionally understand editing, right? But what you can also do is ask it to create content from a starting point. So as long as I've given it a place to start, it can then create from that in a much better way than it can from scratch. Yeah. So it was me and my dog again, of course. You can see a vibe within the pictures that I chose to use today. So I asked it to create a riveting 9-part story with X amount of images, which show these 2 protagonists and their adventures as secret superheroes. So as you can see here, I will show you them larger than this. It started with me and my dog here. I don't know why he's a figurine still, but he is. And then he got larger, almost like a Pokemon. And then we went crime fighting in wherever this is. Yeah. So as you can see, Nano Banana isn't as good at generating as it is editing, but it's still particularly powerful if you use the right thing. When you're in Gemini, what you need to do is make sure that you have, if you are using images, selected here. So we need to make sure you go to the banana and press create images. I'm just going to stop share and then come back to our presentation. But what does any of that kind of make you feel? That one where I went from smiling to frowning? It's quite a lot, right? And as I say, what responsibilities do we now have to make sure that we are using this in the best kind of way as well when it comes to putting this kind of content out into the world? So it is taking the stage. Nano Banana is really changing the way that we can edit. But there are 3 things that we need to consider when using generative AI. And the first one is accuracy and trust. So it can create content that sounds right, but isn't always factually correct. So AI can hallucinate. It cannot have the right data to complete a task, but because it wants to please and give an output, it will create something. So if you are using generative AI in your ads, for example, make sure that you are double checking them before you go out, or else you might end up with the guy with 3 arms on the stage. You can also have issues with bias and brand alignment. So AI learns from human data, which means it can replicate hidden biases or produce outputs that don't match your brand's voice or your values. We did a session on creating a brand tone of voice for AI systems before. And basically, one way to try and overrule this issue with bias that could be in the training data that it's learned from, and it not understanding your brand tone of voice, you can actually tell it, and then it can regurgitate from that. And also, obviously, privacy and compliance. What you put into generative AI, you also need to make sure that you're okay with that, because you don't want to be putting sensitive or IP into those systems, of course. So that is the end of our kind of discussion today about Gemini Nano Banana. But I just want you to go out and try it. It's an incredibly powerful system. And yet you just access it through Google. Yeah, no problems, Kirsty. It was great to have you here. But yeah, please join our AI Exchange Slack channel. It's totally free. And then you can kind of talk to us, all the people in there. There's over 100 people who just kind of discuss AI and what's kind of going on with this technology, because it's changing so fast, realistically.
Definitely. Otherwise, you're also welcome to find us on LinkedIn. We have a weekly newsletter where we have updates in terms of content, what's going on across the world in terms of AI. Thank you to the person, I think it was Mark, who shared that link in as well earlier, talking about some of the updates that are happening within with the technology. I think there's a company that's launching something, which is quite fascinating. I will be popping links into the chat in relation to things that we have on offer at the college. We do have qualifications that tie in nicely into the subject matter. So if you're looking to study further and gain a qualification that's recognized by employers, as well as just, kind of exhibiting your know-how in relation to the new tech, we have the AI practitioner qualification, which is quite popular. And alternatively, if you don't want the long haul qualification, you can also do short courses, and we have that available at the college. And the short courses are more sound bites, and you can do specific topics from banking and finance, business analysis, cybersecurity, education and healthcare, as well as an AI accredited award in AI marketing. And that ties very nicely specifically into the marketing sphere. So yeah, that's what we would recommend on our part to keep you in the know-how, upskill you, and also up to date with what's going on. I will be popping in our contact details. So if you're wanting to ask any questions, you're interested in learning a little bit more and pinning that down with a qualification either in AI or AI marketing, then do let us know. We'd be more than happy to have that conversation with you. But yeah, thank you so much, Robin, for another session. Really interesting.
Yeah, so this was one of our kind of additional ones that we popped in just because the technology had changed. And obviously we planned so many in advance, so we like to try and keep up as well. So the next one is actually on Monday, and then it goes back to every 2 weeks, unless something AI happens in between then, and then we'll cover that as well.
Yeah, so looking forward to it. I have not had any crossover with Gemini Nano Banana, but I definitely am intrigued. So I'll definitely have a play around with some of this tech.
Yeah, please do. And if you join the Slack channel, please send me your pictures that you create. I love seeing what people
What I
create.
come up with.
Yeah. And honestly, it's so surreal when you ask it to change your expression. I was
Definitely.
like, that's me. Like, that is literally me, but not me. I didn't take that. And that was a very strange moment when I sent it to my mum and my nan. And it was like, oh, like they think
Yeah.
that's me. Like,
Yeah.
so there's loads of like ethical issues there. But it's
Yeah.
really interesting that this technology can now retain character consistency. So yeah,
Definitely.
it's a big change,
Definitely.
big leap.
Yes, Chris, it was great to have you on as well and to see, the technology in action and also getting that comparison of what, the slight variations are. I don't think I've seen anything where I've had anyone kind of lay out nicely the slight variations and differences, and obviously as a user, what you might want to benefit the most from.
Yeah, because we just look for generative AI, but
Yeah,
actually now there's nuances within that. It's not a
definitely.
blanket technology anymore. So yeah, it's interesting.
What would you say is your favorite, Robin, before we wrap up for today?
Oh, it's always been MidJourney.
Okay.
And the reason is because the things it creates are so incredibly beautiful and full of depth. But also it has a huge community. So if you are looking to learn a lot very quickly, because you access it through Discord and you have access to their community as well, it's a great place to stay up to date.
Yeah.
Yes, I have tried Firefly and Adobe Express. Maybe we'll do a session on kind of photo editing ones, because Photoshop AI is incredibly strange at the moment. I don't know why it is lagging behind a lot of the other generative stuff, but sadly it is. So
Very, very interesting. Yeah, I've not heard personally. Robin has, thank God, thank goodness, the expert of Firefly or Adobe Express. So I definitely like to learn a little bit more. But yeah, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. We love to see students kind of posting and sharing their badges as well. You know, engaging with the newsletter, comments, anything like that. We always take ideas from things that you guys want to learn. So if there's any topics as well that you're interested in, feel free to post about it, share the link, pass it on, colleagues, work friends, anyone who might be interested in the content. And yeah, otherwise we'll see you on the next one.
have an amazing weekend, everybody.
Yes. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye, Robin.
Bye, Daniela.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Chris.
Yes, I do agree, Chris. Yeah. Yeah.